What's up, guys? Rob at Success Rebellion coming back at you, where we help entrepreneurs, business owners, executives optimize their health and performance and really combat the adverse health effects of a busy lifestyle. And today, we're going to get into what I think is the foundation of health, productivity, and performance, and that is sleep and sleep hygiene. So we're just gonna get right into it. I've talked about before how pretty much sleep affects the other 5 pillars of health and performance. And I talked about that before. Obviously, you have your sleep, eating habits, exercise, body movement, mindset, focus, time management, okay? And your sleep is integral in optimizing the other 5 pillars, because without sleep, you're pretty much not going to be able to adhere to any type of eating regimen. You won't be able to recover from exercise. You're going to have poor mindset because lack of sleep or sleep deprivation is heavily tied to dementia, depression, anxiety, and you won't be able to focus. And without any of those things, it's pretty much trying to time manage is useless. So we're going to delve into today on what sleep is, why it's so important for you as an entrepreneur, business owner, or a high performer, and what you can do to optimize it, okay? So let's just get straight into it. Why do you sleep, right? Everyone tries to understand, why do we sleep? We understand we need to when we feel tired and when we get up. But from the actual scientific standpoint, sleep is your body's process of rest, recovery, and repair for pretty much all daily activities, right? And physical and mental stress, the workload of stress. You go on a 4 to 6 cycles of sleep ranging from 50 to 150 minutes each, roughly. Both the brain and the body experience distinct changes when the sleep cycles correspond in individual stages. Every individual stage plays a big part in the way you sleep, right? And I'll break down exactly what the stages are in a minute, but your body has a process and cycles that it goes through when it's sleep to optimize repair and recovery. And each part of the step is super important to make sure that your body gets in the optimal amount of each stage that it needs so you can run at your best the very next day. So those 2 most important processes of sleep are non-rapid eye movement sleep, non-REM, which will be slower brain activity. This is where you get your deeper phases of sleep, as well as where your body starts to go into the metabolic processes and trying to really upgrade the different hormones that it needs to optimize recovery. And then you have your rapid eye movement sleep, your REM sleep, okay? This is much higher brain activity. This is when you're going to have your lucid and crazy dreams. This is when you're going to be really knocked out, like not moving for the most part. I mean, you don't move during the other phase of sleep much either, but you're more prone to it. Why sleep is important for the brain. So sleep enhances and optimizes most types of cognitive function. And what I mean by cognitive function is the way your brain operates, the way your brain needs to operate to perform not only the metabolic processes and, the different processes that it needs for your body to function on automatic, but as well as the conscious functions that you need to go through on a daily basis in order to perform at the highest levels that you need to, in order to work the way you need to, in order to perform the way you need to, in order to just do your basic errands. All your cognitive function is optimized, or just to be frank, sustained when you sleep. So getting enough high quality hours of sleep fosters attention, concentration, which are kind of prerequisites for, most productivity and performance. So sleep supports different various aspects of thinking, memory, information processing, creativity, emotion, judgment. All these things are impaired if you have sleep deprivation, right? If you've ever been sleep deprived, you notice that you can't focus the way you want to. You notice your judgment is off. You feel as if everything is foggy around you. You have severe brain fog, right? Severe brain fog is pretty much a lack of being able to focus and hold attention on things. So this leads to lower amounts of impulse control, outbursts, poor mood. All these things really, really shine home when you don't have proper sleep. So if you've ever been sleep deprived, I talk to a lot of doctors, nurses, people who work night shifts, and they talk about, working on a nocturnal schedule and how it's very different from working on, a daytime schedule. So they'll talk about the sleep deprivation and how simply they just can't function at optimal levels. It'll seem after a while, as they get into early mornings, that their brain fog just increases and that they're more prone to anger, sadness, all these other things that are a direct detriment of your brain not being able to operate as it needs to. When you are sleep deprived, your mood and impulses just start winding. It'll be very similar to somebody who's tipsy or drunk. Very similar, actually. But anyway, that's why sleep is very important for the brain. When you deprive the brain of sleep, pretty much nothing good happens at all. Those who have sleep disorders, for me, sleep apnea or insomnia, different narcolepsy, a lot of these different things, pretty much means your brain is getting inadequate rest. When your brain gets inadequate rest, the short and long-term effects of this is effectively cognitive decline. You will have short-term cognitive, effects as well as long-term. The long-term, personally, for me, is more scary than the short-term, because a lot of the short-term things can be mitigated while the long-term ones kind of creep up over time. But, the academic research is really backed on this. The short-term cognitive effects, like I explained earlier, can be memory loss, lack of impulse control, brain fog, not being able to pay attention or focus, mood swings. Long-term effects, Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's disease, a lot of the neurosteroid motor recruitments are impaired, beta amyloid plaque buildup that can also lead to inflammation in the brain. There are a lot of different long-term side effects from sleep deprivation because your brain does a lot of housekeeping when you're asleep. And a lot of those neurotransmitters, neurocells, neurosteroids, a lot of that stuff is cleaned out, replenished, and replaced when you sleep, as well as that happens in other areas of the body as well. But we'll get into the actual, more physical effects in another video. In this video, I want to focus strictly on the brain because that's going to be the biggest driver for you guys when it comes to performance. But let me delve more into the short-term effects of cognitive decline as a result of sleep deprivation. Like I said before, brain fog, drowsiness, fatigue. You're going to have slower learning, processing, thinking. Your alertness is going to be off. You're not going to be able to respond the way that you want to with your reaction times. You're going to have lack of memory consolidation in terms of consolidating information the way you need to. Imagine studying for a test and you need to consolidate that information to create a coherent way of being able to regurgitate it in an essay or in a multiple choice test. It's going to be very, very difficult. I'm sure a lot of you went through that in college or school or what have you, as well as not being able to retain the correct information. This is false memory forming, remembering things that didn't happen or information that wasn't there. This used to happen to me a few times. The few times I actually did pull all-nighters in college, I would look at information that was on a sheet of paper And I'd ask myself, I think the textbook said that. I think it said that. Not exactly sure, but I think it said that. That's a different form, but, there are a lot of other things as well, like worsening motor skills, like I said before, mind-muscle connection. That's another big thing. Your body won't be able to respond to your brain's commands as well as it needs to. You won't be, that goes back to poor reaction time as well. Your speech formation isn't as good. You have lack of cognitive flexibility and adaptation to different situations. So if you're in a different environment, or if you're, let's say, somewhere new, your brain needs to adapt to your new environment in order to make sure that you properly can maneuver and or survive the way you need to. That's harder when you're sleep deprived. If you ever noticed, even looking at a map when you haven't gotten a lot of sleep, very difficult. Thank God for GPS. But also a greater chance of headaches, migraines, and stuff of that nature. So you really get a lot of really bad side effects as a result of sleep deprivation just in the short term. These are things that you'll experience just in a matter of days or weeks when you sleep deprive yourself. Obviously, there's degrees to this. There'll be degrees to which when you sleep deprive yourself, how bad the side effects are. But those who have pulled all-nighters or ran on, 4 to 6 hours of sleep for multiple days at a time, you're going to see a lot of these things shine through. This is the big reason why people do sleep binging. When you sleep binge, it's a way for you to try to make up for lost time, but your body doesn't work like that, unfortunately. Sleeping for the correct amount of hours is like depositing money into the ATM, depositing, a few dollars here and there, and you build up a bigger bank account over time. As well as sleep deprivation, even by an hour or two every night, is the opposite. That's like taking money out of a large bank account every day until you don't have any money left, which leads to poor sleep and long-term cognitive decline. You just leave yourself at a much higher risk for a lot of neuro diseases, primarily Alzheimer's and dementia, long-term memory loss, right? This will be due to, like I said, less clearing out of dangerous substances like beta amyloid proteins, the plaque that builds up in the brain that your neural cells clear out as you sleep. In Alzheimer's, dementia, a lot of these beta amyloid forms in clusters and builds up into things called plaques, like I mentioned earlier, which just worsens cognitive function. You're going to notice worsening speech impediment that happens over time as well, also due to plaque buildup. So that's kind of the scary thing as you get older. If you've seen someone with dementia, it's quite polarizing. You will have known someone for 20 years and you will, have had a great relationship, and one day they just don't know who you are anymore. I've had that with a few family members, and it's pretty fucking scary, man. But this is why sleep quantity as well as quality matters. You can sleep. It's not just about getting 8 hours of sleep. You can sleep for 8 hours, right? But if you're constantly waking up, tossing and turning, not, sitting in bed, just looking up at the ceiling, your sleep quality is terrible. So you can sit in bed for 8 hours, but if your sleep quality is not good and you stay awake a good portion of that time, guess what? That's another form of sleep deprivation that we call sleep fragmentation. That's the scientific term for it, which is continuous waking during sleep. And this can be caused by, for me, sleep apnea, and other disorders as well. The primary one in the United States is sleep apnea. So in 2013, there was a study that was done. I think it was 6 years? Yeah, 6 years. And it was published, and it found that, long-term sleep fragmentation in short and long-term results led to long-term cognitive effects as well as short-term cognitive consequences. In not getting enough hours of sleep in the participants led to higher chances of memory loss, dementia, motor skill impairment, There's a myriad of different things, but your sleep quality matters, guys. Your sleep quality as well as your sleep quantity need to be intertwined to have a good sleep hygiene routine. So when you think about sleeping at night, also try to think about, am I actually sleeping, staying asleep? Am I actually sleeping? Am I actually staying asleep? So how to simply improve your sleep hygiene, getting into the meat of it, right? You know why you need to sleep. You know why it's important, and you know all the different cognitive consequences that can come about as a result of not getting the proper amount of sleep that you need, right? So what can we actually do to improve our sleep? So to improve your sleep hygiene, you can implement 4 tips, 4 techniques right away. So number 1, create a sleep schedule, guys. Create a sleep schedule, which is simply a bedtime and a wake up time, like you had when you were kids. So create a sleep routine that says, like, personally for me, my sleep routine is I go to sleep every night at 10 p.m. and I wake up at 5:30. This ensures that I get my 7.5 hours of sleep every night, because 7 hours for me is the bare minimum I need to function. Ideally, you want to get 8 to 9, but I'm a work in progress like the rest of you guys, and I'm working toward getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep. But like a lot of you guys, as an entrepreneur, we all have busy schedules. But having a sleep schedule that you stick to at least 6 days out of the week will ensure that you get the amount of sleep that you need to function the way that you need to, right? So 1, input a sleep schedule. Number 2, install an evening routine. An evening routine is pretty much, oops, sorry, that shook the camera, my bad. An evening routine is pretty much a routine that you use to simply relax. This can be anywhere from the span of 15 minutes to an hour, but your goal is basically to detox from the workday, set your environment for proper relaxation mode, meaning dimming the lights, no bright lights, no electronics, setting the temperature lower than room temperature, just by a few degrees, not a lot, but inputting calm music, taking some supplements like melatonin to help induce, drowsiness. But you want to detox from your workday and induce relaxation. This will probably be the biggest driver in increasing your quality of sleep, right? So that's number 2, is inputting a proper evening routine. And we'll get more into that. I'll make a whole video on what a proper sleep routine looks like in the future, but these are basics that you guys can use right now to really improve your sleep. Number 3, do not eat close to bedtime, okay? You do not want to eat any closer than 2 hours before bedtime. Ideally 3, sometimes 4. You don't want to be hungry when you go to sleep, but you also don't want to have a stomach full of food. Why? Because your body uses a lot of blood to digest food, okay? So when your body's actually trying to digest food, it's taxing on the body. So your body needs to be in a relaxed state in order to properly fall asleep. And digestion of a lot of food makes that very difficult. So like I said, you don't want to be hungry, but you also don't want to have a stomach full of food. So my tip for that is don't eat any closer than 2 hours before bed. All right, make sure you stop eating 2 hours before you go to sleep. And 2, don't have a big dinner. Have a small to medium-size-ish dinner, okay? And preferably one that's not heavy, full of protein and carbs. If you have, small amount of protein, small amount of carbs, you'll be good to go. With some vegetables, you'll be good to go. And I mentioned this earlier, is just lower the temperature by a few degrees, and that's part of your evening routine. But you guys can input those 3 things right away that will directly improve your sleep. So that's it for this video for now. It's basically just an overview of why sleep is important for your cognitive function and for your cognitive performance, and why you guys need to take it seriously, because this is going to be the biggest thing in improving your energy levels and improving your cognitive performance. If you don't focus on sleep, we went through why you're going to suffer through a bunch of cognitive consequences. You're going to have long-term and short-term cognitive decline, guys. Memory loss, dementia, lack of alertness, lack of reaction time, not being able to focus the way that you want to. Hence why all of these things are tied into the other pillars. Sleep is the foundation for everything that you need to do. So please take the time to focus on your sleep. All right? And once again, we'll have more videos on this in the future. I think you guys have a good foundation of information on how to improve your sleep hygiene, as well as why it's so important. But anyway, feel free to subscribe to get more, and hit the notification bell so you know when I put out new videos. And also follow me on social media, Success_Rebellion, _Rebellion, as well as Robagoo Fitness on Instagram. And we'll talk to you soon. Peace.